Hey guys, it's Cole, and this video is going to be all about how to catch up on gear or how to get maximum item level without even touching raid content. I personally know many people who took a longer break from Final Fantasy XIV, or maybe they got burnt out on DSR and they're like, I'm going to be waiting a few months before I touch this raid tier. Sorry, not a Kyle, I love you guys. And so I think that this is going to help a lot of people out. So first up, let's define the current stats of best in slot. Maximum item level is 630, with in particular the weapon being item level 635. Now, since I'm talking about best in slot, I always find it necessary to have a disclaimer here because I get so many comments of concern. You really don't need best in slot to clear any form of content in this game outside of current ultimate raids. Content like extreme trials, savage raids, and all other forms of content just don't require best in slot at all. And when it comes to performance concerns, you're just like, am I going to be griefing the groove if I'm not best in slot? Any of the gear sets that I'm about to recommend in patch 6.3 are more than ample, way above the baseline requirement for any content we have right now. But beyond that, largely performance is up to how well you execute mechanics of that content, as well as how you perform your job's rotation and use cooldowns. Like, that's a very big thing, like using Feint or Addle or Machinist's shiny new Rod Dismantle button. Like, I'm still so happy about that button. So I really truly would not get hung up on needing best in slot. You are not going to be griefing a group because you are only 620. In fact, if I am just going to speak completely plainly here, I know many people who are going into current Savage raids with minimum item level, and they're having no issue getting what we'd call a green, which is a pretty good value. On the flip side, I know people who are just at best in slot gear and they are still somehow parsing a 0 in Hephaestus on Dancer, or they're on Summoner and parsing a 0, or they're on Red Mage and parsing literally 0. And so while gear is nice to have, if you're a bad player, no amount of gear is going to save you. Not a single lick of it. But on the flip side, if you are a proficient player and you're here and you're wanting to learn and try the content and give it your best shot and have a healthy, positive attitude, you'll go far even if you are so far from best in slot. I just said far twice. But honest to God, it's like the truth. I think a lot of people who come from World of Warcraft get really hung up on this number and they're just like, oh, there's no point in anything if I don't have best in slot. I know people who have 620 gear who have parsed purples in current Savage raids, and I'm not talking about during the first few months, I'm talking about last week. So really, it's nice to have, but definitely not mandatory. Okay, disclaimer over. So best in slot by definition comes through a combination of Savage raid gear as well as upgraded Tomestone gear. Why is it a combination of it? That's because best in slot is a combination of these that gives you ideal secondary substats. Amongst pieces of the same item level, that is the only difference really. Does a piece have, say, direct hit and crit on it, or say piety and spell speed? The 635 weapon, however, is exclusively for P8 Savage, as well as the 630 upgraded Tomestone weapon upgrade material is only from Savage as well, so that's unfortunately not an option for most people. Let's first knock out Tomestones. Tomestones are going to be really a huge mainstay for gearing, but are currently capped at a maximum amount that you can earn per week of 450. This is likely to be doubled in the near future as we approach patch 6.4, which will make catching up on Tomestone gear very easy. But a huge advantage of Tomestones is they require no rating and are extremely accessible even to social players of Final Fantasy XIV. So I know many people who went into patch 6.3 with a full set of Tomestone gear at item level 620 before even upgrading the Tomestone pieces. And with patch 6.3, now you can access the Tomestone upgrade materials even as a social player extremely easily. You can get it through the brand new Alliance raid as well as the Hunt Train. And I cannot recommend the Hunt Train enough, especially during patch 6.3 because of this. You trade in Kupo nuts for upgrade materials. Also, if you're returning or fresh level 90 with like no gil, the Hunt Train gives tomestones that you can exchange, astronomy specifically, that you can exchange for like loot that you can sell on the market board, as well as clusters that can be traded for materia and sold to earn some sweet gil. I'm going to be leaving the Hunt Train video in the description and the pinned comment, can't recommend it enough. But to wrap up the point of Tomestone, this patch there is a very clear social player accessible point to get item level 630 for people who do not enjoy raiding. I'm going to reflect back to my disclaimer, it's really just a secondary substat difference, and largely this is going to be way more than ample. The loss and difference that you're going to have is slight. It's there, but it's not going to be anything near what some people might worry about. Now I'm going to be talking about rating really briefly, and it's not for everyone, and that's totally okay. You gotta play what you want to play of this game, but in terms of rating, even there, it can take a few weeks to get all the gear that you'd like, unless you get some very generous groups. You do get a page per clear, but if RNG like mine, if you have any RNG at all like mine, you are probably going to not get many boxes. So with all of that out of the way, let's explore the wealth of other options that we have here in patch 6.3, because raid and tomestones are absolutely not the only paths to gear up, and you can get pretty great gear that is very comparable very easily this patch. First up is the method that I'm using to gear up my machinist as I go to give it a few good runs in the new extreme trial. I'm going to probably take it through some savages, and this is upgrading the crafted Ratata gear that you can get very easily from the market board. The base crafted item level is 610, and obviously that is pretty far from 630, but now you can upgrade it to 620 by going to Rods at Han and speaking with Rashti, who is going to give you a set of what is called Dharmic Rain for Astronomy Tomestones, which, like I said before, super easy to get them, piles of them from hunt trains. And then the second thing you need is to trade in current item level 610 crafted pieces with Rashti, who will give you a Hanish certificate of grade 2 import. You then trade a combination of these Hanish certificates and Dharmic Rains, and then you get item level 620 gear. This is what I've currently decked my machinist out, since I geared healers and casters with this raids tier gear, and so I hope that this is one of those instances of I'm practicing what I preach here. Really, truly, it is more than ample set. Obviously, it's not best in slot, but this is more than enough. Now, the problem is, what sort of weapon are you going to use with this set? And the answer is that you could also get a 620 weapon with the Ratata set, but while I'm not going to do that myself, though, because there is an option and an even better way to get a weapon, which is item level 625 weapons are dropping from the brand new Extreme Trial. I'm not going to show footage of it right now or talk about it in more detail than that, but it's quite literally brand new. It's tied to the story. It is extremely easy to spam this fight, and in the span of a few days, theoretically with good RNG, collect all of the 625 weapons, and that is extremely close to best in slot item level weapons. No weekly lockouts, no materials farming, just straight up doing the content. I know that that is something that a lot of people raise in my videos. They're like, I just want to do the combat content. This is a great option. Now let's say you need an intermediate weapon to farm that fight, and you don't want to, say, go grinding the 620 weapons for upgraded crafter gear with the Dharmic Rain. I get it. I'd recommend then you to check out the Relic Weapon line from this expansion. The video is on my channel, and we'll get you set up with that. I'll put it in the description and pinned comment. Now, another method to get gear that I need to confess is a little slower, since it does have weekly lockouts, but will get you that item level 620 piece, is the brand new Euphrosyne Alliance raid. I'm going to make sure no footage again, because it's brand new content and I want to keep spoilers away. Obviously, 620 isn't higher than the crafted gear that's augmented, but let's say that you want to save some gil and tomestones, or maybe you just want the glamour for appearances, then this is a solid option. With that, I'm wrapping up this video, because I think that that gives everyone a wealth of options, and really at this point there is so many different access points. Like, if you have not raided yet, this is definitely a good time to check it out. We have the guides out there, we have the gear that you can get that's pretty accessible and comparable to best in slot. I think that this is a great time to jump into 14. Anyhow, happy patch 6.3, guys. I'm going to be working on my next video now. As always, if this helped you, I would super incredibly appreciate if you decided to drop a set of best in slot gear on that like button, and can't do any of that subscribe button. Take care, everyone. I hope you're doing great.